What's up, YouTube? We're back, and the attack on Cyberstan has started, and it is bloody. In this video today, I want to talk about what I've learned, things I recommend, and just like general insights on like the first day. We've been playing for like the last like 5-6 hours since it came out, absolutely blasting through a bunch of missions, and it's been really fun. But those Vox, oh boy, those land tanks are immense, and that's what I'm mostly gonna be talking about, because I feel like the other automatons aren't as crazy and don't need as much explanation on, like, you can kind of use whatever you want, but the Vox tanks, oh my, they need some explanation. So let's get into it. So far with Cyberstan, we have access to 2 cities. They have unique like modifiers, like effects on them. So like this one, you start off with less magazines, and then the other one, your extraction pile takes 30 seconds extra. Fun fact about this ammo storage, if you have advanced hell pod optimization, like the booster, it doesn't seem to actually affect you, but it does affect your tank. The tank goes down from 30 rounds to 15. It only happens because of this modifier. Very weird. Just a heads up, if you get in your tank, no, they didn't nerf it or like shadow nerf it. They confirmed that it has to do with this modifier. For some reason, it's affecting the primary shells of your tank. Don't know why. Anyways, there are some new missions. I don't want to spoil anything, but they're pretty interesting. Some of them are pretty basic, just like, hey, go destroy an orbital cannon, and some go kill the landed dropships. But there's a new one for like destroying like the cyborg manufacturer, which is pretty neat. Some new side objectives is actually destroying the city around you. Bring your walking barrages and barrages in general. It seems like you definitely need some high destruction force to be able to destroy them. It's basically just the large skyscraper like buildings. There's another one that's destroy like statues around Cyberstan cities. For the most part, you can mostly start your missions outside of the area. What you'll notice above is that there's a city part, and then there's like the outskirts part. Most of what's happening on the mission is going to be in the city. There's occasionally maybe like a fabricator, a side objective outside, but for the most part, you're going right in the city. I'd recommend probably dropping right outside the city, finding a door, and then pushing in. Sometimes there's like a sewer grate that you can go under and through. There are also these doors that you can blow up with 40 destruction force or more. So that's like ultimatum, that's like C4, 500 kg, over precision, things like of that nature. You can blow up the door. If you have lower pen, they have like a health bar, and you can eventually destroy them and they fall down. But yeah, nothing too crazy. When you're going inside, a lot of the objectives overlap. So things like 380 and 120 can be very destructive. Orbital laser can be really nice for dealing with them. Honestly, Hellbound backpack worked really well because a jammer inside the city is deadly. So bringing a person with at least 1 Hellbound backpack, or maybe 2 even, really useful for dealing with the dropship fabricators and the stratagem jammers in a timely fashion, so you're not messing around too much. It can get pretty dicey when you have a bot drop on top of you, a bunch of Vox jumping on top of you, the new tank, and you can't use your stratagems. It's scary. It really is. So being able to take those out ASAP is really nice. Another thing about the cities is that they have like anti-air emplacements dotted all over, and they will stop you from using your eagles. So eagles definitely are on like the less used side, I would argue, just because it's sometimes really annoying when there's like one anti-air like turret somewhere located, and you're like frantically looking around for like the bullets into the sky, and you're like, I don't see it, and you can't use it. It can be pretty frustrating, unfortunately, because of that. So I definitely have been using orbitals more often than eagles. All right, next, let's talk about armor and primary weapons, secondary weapons, and grenades. You don't need to bring medium pen. It's very similar to normal automaton missions, where if you want, you could just hit, you know, your precision shots on your basic devastators and stuff like that, you know, and be just fine. The new Radical, no armor on the top, aim for the head, nothing too crazy. He's pretty weak, honestly, but he can surprise you and do a lot of damage if he knocks you to the ground. The Agitator, on the other hand, the one that buffs up all the units around him, he's a bit tankier. You can just destroy his armor even with light armor pen. That's something that didn't really come across in the videos that they showed off. They were like, oh, he's heavily armored. He's not actually. He's more like an observer or something like that on the Illumina front, where you can actually just kind of break his armor off and then shoot his like exposed body. I had some friends just running like the tenderizer like the entire time, and he had no problem taking out those units. So it kind of looks like heavier armor than it actually is. You're mostly just like taking out like the armor of like an overseer on Illumina. Just think of it very similar. But that's not to say like medium armor pen does does work really well versus the Vox tanks because it does seem like it's light armor pen for the vents on them. Just like a brief rundown on that actual enemy itself. The vents are located on the back of its head, kind of looks like a smiley face, 2 eyes and a mouth. And then there's 2 on like the butt of the actual like tank part itself, and then 1 underneath. If you blow up all 6, it basically breaks it down to like almost one shot. Like he becomes very weak in that state. But what it does allow you is there's these vents that you can throw grenades into to instantly destroy it. So you can either do the 3 top ones and throw a grenade into the top, or the 3 bottom ones and throw it into the portion there. You can pick one of the 2 if you don't have an anti-tank weapon. So picking a primary that's pretty good at killing the vents was useful. So some ones that like kind of impressed me were like Eruptor, easily one-shot it. Double Barrel Freedom was like really good. You know, you could quickly take out 2 vents really fast, reload, take out the 3rd, and then throw a grenade in. You can actually eliminate it way faster than you would think. But shotguns in general would be really nice for that. High fire rate primary weapons would also be a strong one. I did use the Coyote, not the worst, but pretty good for like range shooting and just general like fire. I do think you have a lot of primaries to your disposal, but medium pen will probably be more people's go-tos just because you're still dealing with normal devastators and things like that. So it'd be a little bit easier to deal with them. That's not to say that like light pen is off the table. You can absolutely go crazy with an amendment, but your top 2 are always there. Exploding crossbow is probably the best overall primary, but I don't think the vents take explosive damage to the best of my knowledge. It seems like they only take impact damage. So the exploding crossbow, not great at killing vents. Kind of an interesting one. But that's where like the Eruptor comes in, where like it's just a pellet, like shotgun of like shrapnel, one-shots it very consistently. So keep that in mind. Impact weapons will be a little bit better, like Dominator or like Variable, your counter snipers, Amendment, faster fire rate ARs, SMGs, like I said. Scorcher will struggle, Purifier will struggle just because it has less impact damage. The majority of damage you're really doing is like explosive with these weapons. So keep that in mind. As far as secondary weapons go, Ultimatum is fantastic for like doing a lot of damage to the Vox tanks. It seems like it brings it down to about 50%, maybe like 66%. Theory right now is they have around 10,000 HP. Each shot of Ultimatum is like almost 3k damage. So very solid damage, but also just really good for like ad clearing and stuff like that. Objective farming with Grenade Pistol. Talon felt great. It's a cold planet, so your energy weapons will feel good. Bushwhacker for pushing back those radicals if they're getting too close. Melee weapons probably wouldn't do too much with. Senator, still great for dealing with Hulks. Can't go wrong with it. Crisper for just general ad clear. Reeducator, not bad for Hulks that are running at you. A quick little dart to them. They'll kind of be poisoned and hopefully not shoot at you too much more. As far as your grenades, a lot of people found that 3 thermites plus some vent killing was a very consistent way to kill the Vox tanks. Pyrotechnic, I really enjoyed for throwing into the vents and just general ad clear. I always loved the Pyrotechnic. It's like a 3-for-1, right? You throw it at them. It does the sparkler, which does damage. Then it explodes, does more damage, and then it puts fire on the ground. And you have 6 of them. So it's fantastic for ad clearing in general. Can't say no to gas. Always a fantastic one. The shield is amazing for tanking damage. And just like if you're out of like position and stuff like that, you need to reload your weapon. The shield generator is fantastic. Highly recommend. Smoke, not bad. Arc grenades, highly recommend. I think it's definitely a slept on grenade. Dynamite, decent, but the tracks of the Vox tank seem to take a lot less damage than like other ways of dealing damage to it. So if you're trying to like throw dynamite at the feet or the tank treads of the Vox, yeah, you'll do a bunch of damage, but it's not going to be doing full damage to it just because of how the tank tracks work. They seem to be like taking like maybe 50% bleed through damage or less, something like that. It might even be 1/3. Not always the strongest. Next, going to stratagems. I'm mostly going to be touching on the fact of what stratagems I found were actually doing well against the Vox. So as we just explained before, the Vox tank, there's 2 main ways to kill it. You're either going for the vents on the backside, or you're trying to battle its main HP pool, which you need to have around Pen 5 anti-tank armor or higher to really do it. But it's very tanky. It's kind of like shooting a factory strider and you're like not going for weak point hits because there aren't really weak points for you to hit with anti-tank weapons. You're mostly using like a machine gun on the vents, or you're like going for recoilless against like the main body, because it doesn't seem like attacking the weak points with a recoilless really changed the TTK. Like for recoilless, it seemed like it was around 4 rockets on average, especially against the front faceplate. I think you can maybe get it down to 3 if maybe you kill a vent or 2 while you're also shooting the recoilless. But things like machine gun, not a bad option. You know, put it on the fastest fire rate and just like try to quickly hit as many of the vents as possible, and then maybe finish it off with like a leveler or something like that. Anti-material rifle worked well for sniping the weak points. Stalwart would be a decent option just for sheer damage. Expendable anti-tank for maybe finishing off a weak Vox, but only 2 rockets is not that much damage. You're not going to get that much mileage. You're maybe going to bring down 1 Vox tank to like half health. So it's like a good combo weapon, but not amazing. Recoilless, good. Not like insane like it is for like factory striders where you could one-shot them, but like solid all-around damage. And obviously it's still really good against like Hulks and War Striders, one-shotting tanks from the front. Like it still has that amazing anti-tank on the rest of the mission, but it's just not as good against Vox as you would expect. Flamethrower, if you could get close enough, you will do a decent amount of damage, but getting close is quite difficult with those machine guns on the side. Speaking of which, you know, you do need medium pen for them, and some weapons are definitely better at it than others, like with anti-material rifles. So bringing a weapon that is good versus the vents and versus the miniguns is actually a strategy. And you can also break off the missile throwers on the back. You'll see them. They're kind of like rocket pods shooting straight up. You can break those as well to kind of weaken the Vox even further. Autocannon, decent, but because most like half the damage is explosive, it won't do as much against the vents as like anti-material rifle, because I believe the vents are quite explosive immune. Heavy machine gun worked really well. I really enjoyed it. Commando, similar to the EAT, it's good for like finishing off a target or for general mobbing, but wouldn't really recommend. Airburst rocket launcher, I really wouldn't. The Vox seems so explosive immune, it didn't really impress me. Railgun, very solid, one-shots the vents, and just general mobbing, very strong. Spear wasn't really impressive. It seems like it's 3 shots on average to kill a Vox, which, you know, not bad. But, you know, when you compare that to weapons that are more universal, I do think they're better. One thing with the spear is make sure you're tracking onto the main body. It's easy to accidentally track onto the side cannons, and the side cannons will just absorb damage. And it doesn't seem like there's much bleed through if you destroy a cannon and then have to deal with the main body. So keep that in mind. I would definitely try to finagle the tracking reticle to make sure you're actually tracking onto the main fuselage. I do think you could possibly get a 2-shot kill if like maybe a vent or 2 was destroyed in the back of the head, or if the rocket direct impacts the back of the head. Wasp, same kind of thing as Spear, but you are dealing less damage per individual like barrage. Like you'd probably have to use almost all your reserves to kill one from the front. Maybe if you get some tracking shots to the back and you manage to get lucky and they actually hit vents, you could probably reduce it, but I don't think it'll be very efficient. Gatling barrage is pretty good, but you need the tank to sit still. And that's the thing about the Vox tank, is he loves to move around and he's pretty damn fast. But in an optimal scenario where you manage to like line it up and the majority of Gatling is like hitting its head and maybe even hitting the weak points on the back, sick. You could probably kill it in one, but it's mostly just for like weakening a Vox. Pretty good though for the rest of the mission and dealing like good damage, because there's a lot of like narrow streets in the city, and if you can line it up properly, you can get some pretty good chokes and fields of fire going on with it. So not bad. I would just avoid the airburst strike. I'm not impressed with it at the moment. 120 and 380, both fantastic. I felt like I always wanted to bring one of them just for the bot drops that happen in the city. The bot drops in the city are insane, because half the enemies that are dropping are Vox tanks on tier 10, and the other half are like tanks and factory striders, all of the cyborgs. It's insane. It's just so much. And having a 380 millimeter barrage is really nice. I would highly recommend. Over to walking barrage, good for distant targets. Really good for the side objective, like I said, but I would rather bring a 380 or 120 for the automaton drops, honestly. Orbital laser, solid. I think you could easily kill maybe 2, maybe even 3 of the Vox tanks with 1 orbital usage. Just careful. The tracking on the laser is finicky as all hell. It will try to go for fabricators first. It will probably try to attack dropships first. So if you are going to use your orbital lasers, I would recommend waiting for the dropships to fly away and there hopefully to be no fabricators nearby. But extremely solid for dealing with the Vox tanks. Just, you know, you only get 3 uses, so try to, you know, pick good opportunities for that. Over to napalm barrage. good for all the cyborgs. Everything but the Vox tank, as far as the cyborg units, are very weak to fire. 1, maybe 2 instances of fire, and they're cooked. You know, obviously you're not lighting tanks and stuff, but there's no factory straters. It's just the Vox tank and the regular tank that are basically immune to fire. Everything else is going to take fire damage, which is nice. Orbital Rail Cannon Strike, I'm iffy on. There was some cases where it did one-shot it. And I think it is, if it hits the back of the forehead, like the smiley face, like the 2 eyes and the smiley face vents, it can one-shot all 3 vents and do a load of damage to the Vox tank itself. But are you going to get that scenario very often? Not always. I did get some situations where the Orbital Rail Cannon Strike actually hit the side cannons, and then it basically didn't actually add that much damage to the overall kill to it, which was kind of disappointing. So your mileage may vary. I do think it's like pretty good, but it's not like Dragon Roach good, completely countering it. It's not a bad choice, but it's also not a great choice. Strafing Run, very good if there are no anti-air emplacements around in the city. If you and your team are very good about destroying all of them, it actually works really well. I got plenty of reports from my Twitch chat that some say that like 2 to 3 strafing runs is enough to kill the Vox tank, you know, depending on angle and if they are moving and stuff like that. Or just using strafing run as like something to finish it off. Because if you see it on fire, 1 good strafing run easily destroys it. So very nice to have if you can get the right angle and like a good strafing run. Eagle Airstrike, another pretty good one, but you only get 3 uses of it. And I found it hard to get the Vox to sit still for this one. I found it easier with the strafing run because it's like, you don't have to worry about perpendicular angles. You just know the strafing run's always going to come from behind you at a 45 degree. But with Eagle Airstrike, it's going to come from perpendicular. But because it's an automaton city, it kind of works like a mega city. Sometimes the strafing run can come from weird angles, more so than the strafing run. So I didn't love the Eagle Airstrike as much as I was hoping, because Eagle Airstrike was pretty good at one point versus the Factory Shredders, right? When they first spawned, we were loving it. It's lost some love over time, but you know, still solid. I was expecting it to be better. Cluster Bomb, good for the automatons, not great for the Vox tanks. It is doing okay damage because it should do some bleed through to the actual tank tracks, but it's not like you can immobilize the Vox, unfortunately. I do really wish you could immobilize the Vox if you did like good damage to the tracks. It is a little bit disappointing. You can take like a heavy pen weapon and just like do damage to the tracks, but like you have to do so much because it's so little bleed through. I do wish you could like kind of tank track it like a normal automaton tank. That would be nice. Eagle Napalm, good for the cyborgs and stuff like that, but I wouldn't really recommend else. Jump Pack, good for mobility. There's a lot of high walls. Smoke, good for like sneaking around the city or just like disengaging. 110s, good damage versus Vox, but the rest of the automatons will mostly shrug off the 110s, unfortunately. You're going to get the occasional like 1-tap on Hulks, which will feel good, but there aren't that many normal automaton tanks running around, so you're not going to get that much. 500 kg honestly wasn't that impressive versus the Vox. I thought it would be better, but yeah, it really wasn't impressing me as much. It still has like really good ad clear potential, but yeah, not as lethal as I thought it would be versus the Vox tank. Fast Recon, I'd probably avoid just the tight, narrow streets. And there's so much ragdoll from like the Vox tank. It would be really hard to use the FRV and not just get constantly flipped over. Because of the ammo weirdness of the Bastion tank, I probably wouldn't recommend, but it was very good at getting the Vox tanks dead. 2 to 3. I don't know why sometimes I was getting 2 taps. It was probably because I was somehow killing a vent, even while shooting at the front, I think, or maybe one of my teammates was killing a vent and I didn't realize, but it's like a very reliable 3 tap, potential 2 tap. I would really recommend the Bastion tank when they fix the ammo problem. Because remember, you can just kill the dropship that the Vox tank is coming in on, and the Vox tank dies if you kill the dropship fast enough. That's pretty nuts. Over Precision Strike, honestly, a bit of a glow up for it, because if it directs impacts the actual tank, it does big damage. It doesn't one-shot it, but it's like potentially 70% of its health. And then I was having a friend that was using Orbital Precision Strike and Strafing Run, and he would do a 1-2 combo. Precision Strike into Strafing Run, and he found it very successful for taking out Vox by himself, which is pretty cool. Just remember, Strafing Run and anti-air, it does suck. Orbital Gas, always solid, good destruction, but versus the Vox, no. Gas, if it is doing damage, gas-wise, gas is not doing like a percentage of health. It's just doing a flat rate, and the damage is not that high versus such a high HP target. Orbital Smoke, decent for disengaging and just hiding from the Vox. HMG emplacement, I wouldn't want to sit on an emplacement like this for too long, the Vox is very good at sniping you with his side cannons or just rocket barraging you. If you are going to sit in an emplacement, try to bring the shield grenade or use those shield emplacements that are free right now. Shield generator, very good. I would highly recommend bringing it. It's free right now, but when it's gone, having one teammate have this is going to be very nice for when the Vox tank is like spamming you with all those rockets. It's obnoxious when he starts spamming, especially when there's like 2 or 3 out. You are just ragdolling all the time. Tesla Tower, pretty decent for like the general like mobbing of automaton, just because there's so many ground units, bipedal ground units. It did perform really well against the cyborgs and automatons, but obviously the Vox tank it's going to take some damage from the Pen 5 Tesla Tower, but I wouldn't recommend throwing it at it. Grenadier Battlement, you could spam the tracks constantly with this thing, but I wouldn't really go too crazy with it. Probably not. And then the other thing, it currently has that bug where if the emplacement dies, you immediately die with it. So be careful. If it takes too much damage, I would get off of it early. It's not going to just pop you off like other emplacements. You will die with it. You get one shot. It sucks. I hope they fix that. Anti-personnel mines, your teammates are going to hit you. Please don't do it. Light backpack, really good. Grenade launcher, really good for the general mobbing of automatons and cyborgs. Very good. For the Vox tank, not good. You literally can't do damage to the vents. This is why I have the theory that the vents don't take explosive damage, because I put like multiple magazines into the vents and I just couldn't destroy the vent. I just couldn't do it. It didn't work. Laser cannon, decent for dealing with the vents and just general automaton mobbing. It's a cold planet, so would recommend. Incendiary mines, no. Rover, not bad. I would say pretty good. Ballistic shield, there's too much ragdoll. I don't think it's worth it. Arc thrower, pretty good. Just don't shock your teammates, but pretty good. You're not going to do anything really to the Vox tank. Wouldn't recommend just sitting there trying to zap it over and over again. Leave that to your other teammates, but pretty good for just general ad clear and stunning things. Anti-tank mines, I had a lot high hope for this, but I don't recommend it. Because of the city environment, a lot of the mines just stick to the walls, and the Vox tanks, because they absorb so much damage through their tank treads, it didn't really impress me when it did roll over a bunch of anti-tank mines. Maybe you guys could get like the optimal scenario where he literally like goes back and forth over a minefield and dies to it, but it didn't impress me. Quasar, I feel like it deals its damage too slowly. Not terrible because it's a cold planet, but dealing with the Vox tank with the Quasar, it would be an exercise in like frustration. It just takes too long. Shield generator, solid option, would reduce a lot of the ragdoll spam that you take. So solid. Gas mines, great for the general like automaton and cyborg population. They're just AFK while you shoot at them. It's great. So one person with gas mines throwing them underneath a bot drop, really solid. Machine gun sentry, not bad, just because a lot of the cyborgs they don't really need anything higher than medium pen, and there aren't that many devastators as there normally is in most. It actually is getting a lot more usage, I think. The problem is though, is that the Vox tanks will destroy your turrets immediately. They hard focus anything you throw out, like auto cannon or rocket sentry. It doesn't matter. You could use that to your advantage to hopefully get them to turn around so you could shoot at his vents, but it's hard to use these when they're just constantly getting one shot by the Vox. Mortar sentry, good, but your teammates will probably hate you for killing them over and over again, because a lot of the cyborgs like to get close to you, which is just easy pickings for mortars to shoot. So yeah, another good guard dog. Autocan sentry, didn't find much success with it. Like I said, Vox tank usually just shot it before it got 2 rounds off. Same with the rocket sentry. It just nailed it from across the map. Didn't really get as much usage as I was hoping. EMS mortar, if you can hide this, pretty damn good. It won't stun the Vox tank, but pretty good. I've heard somewhat good success with the Patriot exosuit. 14 rockets can kill 2 Vox tanks, but you're not really using rockets for anything else. I personally use the Emancipator. Good damage, but you are playing scared the entire time. If a Vox tank even looks at you funny, hide, run. You will get absolutely destroyed by his laser cannons and his missiles. Careful. If you are going to use it, be extremely careful. Sterilizer, probably wouldn't recommend, but good CC for the rest of like the general population of automatons. Would rather just bring like a gas guard dog or something. Gas guard dog, pretty damn good because of all of the like radicals running at you and stuff like that. Pretty damn good. Directional shield, if you're using the crossbow, good. Flame shield, wouldn't recommend. Anti-tank emplacement, scary to use, but very effective if you can like get your teammates to grab most of the aggro, or you're using a shield generator emplacement. It does a stupid amount of damage to Vox enemies. You know, you're probably looking at like maybe 8 shots per, like 6 to 8 shots. I think I would probably lean closer to 8, and you can snipe weak points with it. So like it is a very, very good weapon. Portable Hell Bomb, like I said earlier, very good. Highly recommend. Hover Backpack for getting over walls, decent. One True Flag, good RP. K9, decent, good CC. Just be careful. Your teammates will hate you if you keep shocking them over and over again. Remember, press down on the D-pad or your 5 key on keyboard to put your K9 away so it stops killing your teammates when you're in close proximity. I didn't get that much time to use the escalator, but I would imagine it's pretty good for general mobbing, but not amazing versus the Vox itself. But it would do chip damage because of the arcs doing Pen 5. It is anti-tank penetration technically. So decent. Laser Sentry, wouldn't recommend. Even though it's Cold Planet, wouldn't recommend. Warp Pack, not bad for just getting around, honestly. Just getting around and like, just like dodging through walls and stuff like that. Perfectly acceptable for just high mobility and like getting behind enemies and stuff like that. Very decent. Epoch, good. I liked it. General mobbing, very good. It's not doing crazy damage versus a Vox tank, but like 3 mags can solo kill a Vox tank if you don't take out any of the radiators. But like if you have a team that's like taking chip damage, like strafing runs and orbital precisions and stuff like that, you just throwing some Epoch rounds at a Vox tank, you are doing some serious chip damage. That is respectable. Like putting 3 shots into it and then like finishing it off with like an orbital precision or a strafing run, perfectly acceptable. But would I rather have probably the recoilless? Yeah, probably, unless you make very good use of the explosive damage elsewhere in the rest of the mission for shooting the bottom of dropships or reliably taking out like hordes of enemies walking towards you and stuff like that. So the AoE potential of Epoch on the rest of the mission is quite good and potentially even better than the recoils. Solo Silo, good. Not as good as the Leveler, which we'll get to in a little bit, but very good to just place down and walk around with. You won't reliably one-shot it. It is potentially going to one-shot it. I find if the Solo Silo lands back of the head, back of the tank part, near the ass of it, it can do some serious damage and potentially one-shot it, but the majority of the time, it was getting it to like 10%, 25% HP, and then you could finish it off with something else. Spendable Napalm, great versus the general population of automatons and cyborgs. I wouldn't use it versus the Fox. Spear Gun, good for the weak points of the Vox. One shots them pretty reliably, and you can mob with this thing quite well just because of the gas. Great versus, you know, your Hulks. I liked it. It was fun. Maxi Gun, good for the weak points technically, and good mobbing versus the cyborgs and stuff like that. Honestly, not bad. It will not feel good against Hulks and War Striders and tanks that show up, but you could probably do some serious damage if you got like right behind the Vox and just like nailed all of its weak points without having to reload. Decent. Wouldn't recommend the chain sword. Hot Dog, good. Probably better than the Arc Dog overall just because less friendly fire, and technically it could kill a Vox tank or at least do chip damage to a Vox tank because it's fire damage, which is Pen 5. C4, good. On average, a lot of people were telling me they had 3 C4 to kill, especially if they flanked it and got some like ass shots on it. I quite a few times got 4 for a C4 kill, which is not as good because it's definitely better if you can get 3. That way you can have enough ammo for 2 individual Vox tanks, but honestly solid. And you can like throw out the C4 really fast too. So would recommend. Bridging Hammer, fun, but I would not recommend running up to a Vox tank. I had a friend and just tell me like he took like 6 swings at it and didn't even look, just because the tank treads seem to absorb a lot of damage and they don't seem to transfer it to the main body really well. I do think it would be a lot better if you can, I didn't try this, but like jetpack up to like on top of the tank treads and then start nailing like the ball, the head. I think it would do a lot better. Like it would transfer to the main like health pool better and you could probably kill it within your reserves, but that takes a lot to do. And to get that close on top of it with everything else shooting at you, gonna be hard to do. But if you can do it, hell yeah, good luck. Leveler, I would highly recommend bringing this on every single loadout. It felt amazing for general ad clear and dealing with the Vox tanks. One of these to a Vox tanks, very often one shot, but if it didn't, it was like 10 to 25% HP. You just need to sniff it, you know, with like a strafing run or a recoilless shot or something. It always got really close. So I highly recommend the Leveler for that reason. Belt fed grenade launcher, I wasn't particularly impressed with it or anything like that. Good for mobbing, but you're going to go through your ammo so fast. And because it's explosive damage, the Vox tank is mostly just going to laugh at you because you can't really destroy the vents. It is what it is. Next, I'm just going to like build some loadouts for you guys just to show you. So didn't talk about armor yet. I would highly recommend heavy armor. It will save your life with the amount of damage being dished out by the Vox tank and just the general amount of firepower running around. Heavy medic is never a bad option. Explosive resistance would be very nice with all the explosive damage from the Vox tank. Some other like honorable mentions is obviously like extra throwables, you know, for 5 thermites would do a lot of damage to a lot of Vox tanks, you know, for finishing them off. Ragdoll resistance, highly recommend to some extent. Peak physique for your heavier weapons. Siege ready, never a bad option if you're primarily using your primary weapon. And then, you know, fortified commando if you just want to be tankier and you want less one-shots, like if you're just getting tired of one-shots, not bad. I think our stealth gameplay could work in the cities, but it is more difficult. I'm sure there's some absolute solid snakes out there that can make it work, but I think it would be really difficult with how compact everything is. It's going to be difficult to get around and somehow not get spotted. Other than that, you know, scout armor, never a bad option. Yeah, explosive enforcer, always a solid one if you don't want to wear heavy armor, but you still want like a little bit extra tankiness because you will get a little bit of extra armor rating. Oh, just heads up, medium siege ready is in the game. It's in the superstore, second page. Good luck. So I think it's 200 super credits. Highly recommend picking that up. It is permanent. So for those that can't log in, you know, the next couple days, don't worry, it's permanent. It's like a Chinese New Year like celebration thing. Okay, as far as primary weapons, like we've already talked about, I would probably bring a primary weapon that you feel very comfortable dealing with cyborgs in particular. I really like the double freedom. Exploding crossbow, always solid. Eruptor. I'm kind of just rehashing here, but you know what I mean. Purifier was good, highly recommend, but not good versus the vents. So bringing a primary that is maybe bad at vents, but then bringing a support weapon that is a good trade-off. But make sure you're not bringing like, you know, GL and like an explosive weapon like the crossbow. You're going to be in a situation where you literally don't have a weapon to destroy the vents on the Vox tank in a timely manner. You're going to be like relying on your secondary weapon, which is just not going to be nearly as good. So be careful. Try to like balance that out. So if you are going to bring an explosive crossbow, maybe bring like a support weapon that you feel comfortable killing the Vox tank with or dealing with the vents quite well. Ultimatum felt great. Like we talked about. Talon, really good on the cold planet. And then grenades we've talked about as well. The classics are still there, like pyrotechnic, thermite, gas, dynamite, shield. Very nice, loved it. Slept on arc grenade, highly recommend. So as far as my support weapons and stuff like that, I was going a lot of the time with like, let's say like anti-materia rifle, supply backpack, leveler, and then a flex. So like maybe 380 barrage, 120, laser, maybe a strafing run, something that I felt comfortable like bringing quite often to deal with like the bot drops, like just the sheer number of enemies. But if let's say I didn't want to take like double support weapon, like I just wanted to bring one, I would maybe bring like the 380 here in this slot. And then like our recoilless to deal with a lot of the heavy targets. And then my last one to deal with like random automaton or cyborgs. You could bring something like a machine gun or rocket sentry, another red stratagem like napalm airstrike. You could just do double barrage, never bad option. Strafing run as well. Yeah, a lot of solid options. But I gotta say, I couldn't put down the leveler. It felt so good to deal with the massive hordes of enemies, just getting like 20 kills a piece every 2 minutes, or just like deleting a Vox tank that came out of nowhere. So useful. Call it in, shoot it, go back to what you were doing. Especially if you pair it with another AT weapon that you can reliably finish off the Vox tank if the leveler didn't kill it. But, you know, that's not to say that you can't like use laser cannon and just start sniping those vents. Go for the grenade throw into the top vent or the bottom one when you've killed the collection of 3, because there's 2 collections of 3. As far as boosters, the classics, Hellbot optimization, vitality, and stamina. Easy. You may feel like localized confusion is not a bad idea. We felt like we were getting bot drops on cooldown all the time. So the bigger cooldown between bot drops, not a bad choice. Gotta say, not bad at all. But experimental infusion, a lot of people like to pick as their last. Muscle enhancement, I don't think you're going to get much use out of. Not on this planet. Increased reinforcement budget, not bad. But regardless, Helldivers, I hope that was helpful. I do think I'm going to be putting out a proper tier list for the Vox tank in the next couple days. I just want to take more time to test against it. I also am going to be working on a tier list for primary weapons, because I know a lot of you have probably looked at the support weapon one and it doesn't really cover automaton, cyborgs and stuff like that. But for the primary one, I will take into account cyborgs. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video interesting. Please consider leaving a comment down below what's working for you. Help out some new Helldivers out there. Consider leaving a like on the video you enjoyed. Check out the live streams. We will be live early morning, 3 a.m. EST to about noon EST every day for this update until we take Cyberstan. So yeah, come on by the stream. We're live on YouTube on my Maplewood_TV YouTube channel, or on Twitch, Maplewood_TV. Much love. Peace out. Bye, everybody.